Matt Nagy was the right choice for Chiefs offensive coordinator, and we're going to tell you exactly why right now on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, folks. It's a special bonus episode of Locked On Chiefs, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for free on every platform. Thanks for making us this first listen of what is usually a calm Friday night. Please check out another Locked On show for your next one. News came out. It is Matt Nagy going to OC. And we've talked about the possibility here before. It's really not a surprise. And that's really what it comes down to. He was always the right candidate for this job. You had to do your due diligence. You had to follow NFL rules. But Matt Nagy's experience both with this team, with this quarterback, and as a head coach make him easily the best candidate. And it was not really much of a question.
No, it really was not, and I'm very happy that this is done, and now they're moving on to figure out who, because this is going to have a cascading move. Who's going to be the next quarterback coach? That's going to be something that we're going to have to talk about in the coming days. We'll see if they announce a high read over the weekend, because they like to kind of throw stuff out there at different times. This seemed to be a Friday news dump type of thing, which is kind of surprising considering, you're elevating somebody to OC that I think really deserves to be OC. I think that he will do a great job. He has a lot of continuity with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and that's really the key there. So that's going to be something to watch.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. And people will scrutinize this, as they should. Pep Hamilton was involved in an interview. We don't know that it was for the OC spot, but we have to assume that it was. And that's part of the Rudy Rule is NFL regulations. They had to do that, and they should have. Pep Hamilton is an excellent coach. I still go back to Justin Herbert's first year and the evidence that brings. And we'll talk about Pep here in a minute, but I think even with that, an excellent coach that's got multiple teams under his belt, he's not a one-hit wonder or anything like that. It comes back to the fact that Nagy's been not only in the system, but he's enhanced the system. He's run this system himself. And his head coaching experience, as messed up as it was and as Trubiskyfied as it was, is a big plus for Matt Nagy coming into this situation.
Yeah, and thank you for taking Trubisky. I'm sure he had at least a little bit of a say in taking Trubisky, and that's what landed Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. So thank you for that, Matt. Glad to have you back. And as the OC, I think that he's going to do a great job. I think that you look at his time as a head coach, and there's rumors already starting out there that he's going to be the guy that's going to succeed Andy Reid in the next 3 to 5 years. So we'll see if that comes true. Obviously, that's not what we're talking about right now. We're looking at Matt Nagy and what he's going to do in this as an offensive coordinator, and I think that he brings a lot to this role. You're absolutely right. The head coaching deal is big. Knowing Patrick, knowing what he has been through his entire career, that's big as well.
And everyone's going to talk about, hey, like the latest quote that as Patrick comes off after the Sky Moore touchdown, it's Matt Nagy that he's celebrating with and telling him, hey, we weren't even in the right formation. Yes, we know that quote. But that's you can hear the excitement in that. Like, that's the relationship that they have. And I think that is part of something that multiplies itself beyond just the X's and O's. But it goes deeper than that. I don't really want to get into the Andy Reid air thing because we don't know when that's going to happen. And he might turn out to be somebody who's going to be like, hold the phone. I ain't ready. Pete Carroll's record is not something I'm shy of. So we'll see. But I think what it does is it brings that level of responsibility. And let's be real. You have to be a special kind of person to be in this role. You can ask Doug. You can ask Eric, who took forever to get out of this role. It is a double-edged sword being the offensive coordinator on an Andy Reid staff because the pressure is there that you have to contribute, you have to help, and you have to keep this top offense running like the Ferrari that it is, but you ain't going to get any of the credit because it's always going to go to Andy Reid. And that's, I think, the problem that makes it a unique fit for Nagy as well.
And it takes it a step further because you also are going to get credit going to Patrick Mahomes before you're going to get any credit going to the offensive coordinator. And we know that that's going to be the case, and we know that that's going to be something that they're going to have to deal with. But when you look at what the offense was this past year, it was number one in just about every single category. I don't expect this offense to take a step back. I'm really expecting them to actually take a couple of steps forward because they're going to have guys that are going to be in the system for a couple of years. There's still a lot of moves to be made, and we'll talk about those later. But my point in saying that is the continuity is still there with Matt Nagy. The question now becomes who's going to be the QB coach Is it going to be a guy like maybe Pep Hamilton? Some people have thrown out Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know what direction they're going to go. Maybe they're going to keep Joe Blameyer. I think that's how you say it. On as QB coach. So we'll see if that they go that direction. But now
David
they have the
Girardi,
offensive coordinator and they can move on. Yeah, Dave Girardi is another one.
A pass game analyst is his title. He's really the assistant quarterbacks coach. So he's been working with Nagy. So that continuity kind of makes some sense as well. I think Blameyer's put in more work, to tell you the truth.
Yep.
In terms of like film breakdown, and Andy's really called him out in a positive way a number of times. So I could see that being a discussion too. But I said this on my instant reaction over on my channel on RGR, and I want to know what you think, because as good as that is, and as good as we know that the tree under Reed, under Holmes, like it all trickles down, right? You keep it in the family and it just keeps feeding itself. Every now and then an injection of new blood pays off. And Pep Hamilton is the quality of coach that I think could be that particular injection of new blood that could take at least part of the offense in a new direction. And the thing that we've seen is Andy's always coming up with new tweaks to keep everybody off guard. Matt Nagy is a really creative coach in terms of play design as well. We know they let the players design some of the plays, at least some of the huddles, right? So, like, I think there's room in this tree, in this staff, to have another outside voice that looks at things a little bit differently and brings another flavor to it.
No, and I completely agree, and I think that that's going to be something they're going to be looking at. I'm really curious to see which direction they go, because I don't think that you would be – I would love to see them bring in Pep Hamilton as an example. Cliff Kingsbury, like I said, is another guy that's been thrown out there. Whether or not you like him is a candidate. But the thing is are they going to feel like that they should be promoting from within because of the guys that have already been there and have probably earned the title, or are they going to bring in somebody from the outside? Pep Hamilton, I don't think is going to go take a different position other than maybe QB coach. I don't think he'd want to go to like an offensive assistant or passing game coordinator. So if you're going to bring a guy like that in, I think you're going to have to give him the QB coach job. And what does that do for the guys that are underneath him?
Yeah. I mean, Greg Lewis is taking an interview in Washington, right, with the EB's staff. We don't know that he's going to get that. So then do you actually have that hole to fill or not? Or what happens there? There are gears that grind here on some staffs. And this is a tough one because Andy asks a lot of his staff. And so you are putting in that work, and you have the reasonable expectation that it will eventually pay off.
Yeah, and it's going to be even more key right now because you are losing Chad Henne. And I know a lot of people don't want to give Henne credit for what he's done in Kansas City. He was so important to Patrick Mahomes. Those two getting together in the QB room and having the conversations they had, looking at defenses, Henne being able to give Mahomes a different perspective as to how he's seeing it. That is one of the things that maybe makes the team decide, okay, maybe we need to go outside the organization and find somebody to do this, because it brings in another perspective that you're not going to have anymore unless you're going to go out and go get another veteran type quarterback. But again, it's going to be somebody that's from the outside that hasn't probably been here unless they go and get a guy like Chase Daniel. And I know we're talking about offensive coordinator, but it all kind of fits together.
It does. That room has to have those guys in it every single day to help Patrick Mahomes become the next evolution of Patrick Mahomes and work on the next thing. And that's coming down the pipe. Yeah. Hey, welcome to the life of defensive coordinators around the league.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting ride. There's going to be more updates, and we will have reaction for you. Hopefully we're able to do this where we can both be together live. If not, you'll get something from one or both of us as more announcements come down. But don't miss Monday. Remember, this is a 5-day-a-week show, folks, and Monday is Mock Draft Monday, so we will have an episode for you. We pick your next future Kansas City Chiefs. Don't miss that. Thanks for tuning into this one, and we'll talk to you then.